Well, I will say, like, I have really been looking forward to talking to you. I just feel like, like, there's a few people that, like, you meet on the internet that you're low key, like, I feel like we would be such great friends in person
Yeah,
that I'm like, oh my
yeah.
God, like, I had to talk to you. I was just like, I feel like we're, like, on the same wavelengths and, like, have the same vibe. And I'm like, I wish you didn't live in Canada and you were, like, here. But it's okay. Cause now
Honestly,
we can chat now, so
we
it
can
works
chat
out. It
through
works
the
out.
video call. It worked out. Even though I mean, yeah, like Canada's kind of cool. So sometimes even I'm like, do I even really want to stay here, dog? Like I don't know.
What made you even go to Canada?
Yo, I'm gonna be so honest. It's such like a high school girl fantasy
I
type
feel
shit.
you.
Oh, can I curse? I'm so
Oh
sorry.
yeah, no, 100%.
Okay, cool. So there was this like guy I used to talk to in high school that I really liked. And he always used to talk about like moving to Toronto for like music pursuit. And when I was like looking for colleges, I was like, well, I don't want to go to Holland because everybody goes to Holland and like I don't want to be, basic, no offense, but I just wanted to see somewhere different. And so I was like, oh, let me just go to Toronto because he's going to Toronto. Granted, he never came to Toronto, so that was fucking hilarious. But yeah, that's where the idea came from. It was so like impulsive, last minute, very Sagittarius of me. But yeah, that's why I came to Toronto, to be real honest.
I feel you. Honestly, it's interesting like how like our I realize this now more so that like I create a lot of fantasy in my head that like
Oh, same.
really convinces you of like the world. Like I really like even before I came to the US, like I really thought America was like this incredible place to be and like if you were going to make it like you had to be in America and like
Mm-hmm.
America is where it's at and now I'm here and like
Mm-hmm.
I'm working for the people that like inspire me, you know what I mean? And like I'm like seeing how stuff actually works and I'm like, "Oh my god, I played myself." Like I played
Listen,
myself.
listen. Listen, that's exactly how I feel. Cause like when people was talking about Drake and Drake be singing about the six and Tory Lanez be singing about the six, and I was like, oh, the six must be lit. And then I came to the six, and I'm like, you know what? Like this is not what I thought
They
it
left the
was.
6. They
They
left the
left the
6.
six.
They left the 6
They
to
left
come
the
to our island
six.
on vacation, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, why did I go? What did I leave for? What it's not mathing. It's not.
It's
This
not, but I was never that good at math, so it makes sense. But every time someone asks me like, why did you come to Toronto if you're from Sint Maarten? I was like, honestly, right now, I really don't know. I thought, based on like how we grew up, where it's like, we like our parents tend to teach us that like these bigger countries are better for us and like we have more opportunities, which is true, for the most part. But society is just a bit different over here. And like, I understand why they ask me why I come here. They're like, you're from an island. We're like, yeah, but we want bigger things. And then when you come for the bigger things, you're like, oh, do I really? This is not
it's
what I
not
thought the
it.
bigger thing.
Them
You
bigger
know what I'm
things, not
saying?
it. It's not it.
Them bigger things ain't it.
But I guess how do you enjoy living in Toronto? Like is it nice? Is the poutine good? Like I remember one time I tasted poutine and I was lucky like, ew.
You know what? The poutine is actually good depending where you get it from.
That might have been what it is. I don't think I got a good one. Mm-mm.
Okay, you know what? Because like I have some places that be selling some very weird tasting poutine. But when I first heard about it, I was like, ew, I'm never gonna eat that shit. That's probably like gonna run my belly, make me sick. It probably don't even taste good, you know? But when I actually had like a good one, I was like, I know it's just French fries, gravy, and cheese, but for some reason, it slaps. It's like a capsalon, but not really.
Mm. Capsalon do smack though.
right?
That is fire. That is fire.
Right? They don't sell capsulons up here. I'm a
Yeah, I'm
sinner.
telling you, these developed countries don't got nothing. I'd be confused. I'm like, I
Yeah,
thought y'all were global. What is going on? It is
talking
not
about
adding up.
diversity, right?
I'm like, how I know about more food than you? I'm from an island. It's a rock. Like,
Exactly. You would think, right? With all these like multicultural restaurants that they be having. But they all serve the same thing. That's what I've noticed about like cities and stuff. Even though they would have like an Italian restaurant and a Chinese restaurant and a Korean place, they all kind of sell the same thing.
facts.
So weird.
It's uninspiring. I'm just like, oh
Very,
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
very uninspiring. But where do you live? You live in Chicago
Oh no, no. I live in Washington
or
State.
Washington? Why did I think you
Yeah.
lived in
So that's like
Chicago?
it's like below Vancouver,
Oh,
DC. All the way over
oh,
there. Yes. I'm like a
oh.
4-hour drive to like Vancouver. Yeah.
Have you ever been to Vancouver?
Not yet, actually, because like, when we moved over here, like, COVID and everything, so, like,
Mm,
we couldn't like, Canada wasn't letting people, but low key,
mm.
like, my boyfriend and I really wanna go to Banff, which I don't know if Canadians speak of Banff
I've never heard of Banff.
often, but it's, like, one of like, it is absolutely gorgeous. It's like, a park, a national park, but it's, like, stunning. Like, the
Oh,
water is, like, crystal blue,
in
like, you have,
Canada?
like, the mountains. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to look that up.
You gotta leave the city, girl, okay?
Honestly, I've only been in the city. I'm not even gonna
I
cap.
feel you.
I went outside of the city once for like this music retreat kind of thing for a weekend, which was really cool. I think it was called Bruce Peninsula. I hope I pronounced it right. But it was really nice because when we went out, it was like the first time in however many years I've been here that I actually saw like stars and constellations and the planets. I was like, wow, like it was so quiet and peaceful. And I felt like no anxiety at all because I couldn't feel any of the radiation of like all the
Oh, bro,
technology in the
I feel
city.
you. I feel you. I feel
And
you.
I was like, my body naturally feels tense, and I definitely feel like it's because I live in the city.
Oh my god, bro, you're, like, reading my mind. That's literally what I was about to tell you. I was, like, literally, like, when I go to Seattle, because I don't live in Seattle itself, like,
Mhm.
literally, I feel, like, tense, you know what I mean? Because like, you're always on guard, like, you have to watch your
Yeah.
surroundings, you can't
Yeah.
trust people, there's homeless people everywhere, like,
They're
people are,
static.
literally, the buildings are all dirty and, like, all, like, just
Dusty, yo.
looking like they ain't been washed in centuries
Dusty.
since they've been built, like
Everything smells like crap. Like,
exactly, there's trash, like, I'm like, "How is this progressive?" I don't understand, it's not mathing in my head,
it's
and then you
not.
leave, you go into the forests here,
Oh
which
my
are
God.
magical, and literally, like, it just feels like I was telling you before we started, like, feeling like yourself, like, feeling,
Yeah.
like, decompressed,
Grounded.
just, like yeah, grounded, like and it has been blowing my mind, it really has been blowing my mind, like, having this awareness of, like, spaces and, like, the
Yeah.
energy that are in
Yeah.
spaces, and I feel like cities have so much trauma because there's so many people that have their own energetic, like,
Mhm.
weight that, like, it just, like I feel like I pick up on other people's energies, so if I feel someone is tense with me, like, it
Mhm.
makes me anxious, you know what I mean? Like and it's interesting, like, having this awareness of, like, seeing how other people's traumas can, like, create anxiety in you without even you
Mhm.
realizing it,
Mhm.
because, like, it's just, like, this weird, like, feeling that you have, like, you can't be yourself around somebody or, like, you can't, like, be 100% just, like,
Yep.
calm and loosey-goosey because you can tell they're holding on to so much that, like, it
Yep.
makes you kinda be like, "What is this? Like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, I can't seem to shake it." Um,
It's so intense,
Wild.
especially when you're in with a group of people. Like, I don't know if you ever been to like a party and you're just sitting in this party or like around these people and you could just feel like everyone's stressed, everyone's anxious. Like, so you start to get tense, you start to get anxious, and like you realize that it's not really you because you were chilling. You were just chilling, and all of a sudden your body's starting to react. And it's just like And it's a normal thing. And what I realized is that I was really empathic as well. And I only noticed how empathic I was when the pandemic started and we all got like locked away. And I was like locked away from people for so long that I was like, wow, I haven't felt anxiety in so long. I haven't had a headache in so long. Because I get a headache when I'm around people.
I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "Why are we ever gonna go back into society?" I'm like, "I don't wanna deal with these people stressing me out." Like,
Same. I'm
I'm like,
like,
"I
I want
love
a
to
job
be
to work
home."
from home. I want to work from
Yeah, it is
home.
goals. I'm like, "Why am I gonna go leave the peace of my crib to have you go stress me out?" It's
Yeah.
not making sense to me.
You don't pay me enough to stress me out.
Exactly. Nope.
Oh my
It's
God.
always funny though, because like, people will, like, tell me that I have calm energy, and I'm like, "I'm pretty sure my parents would disagree with you on that," but, it's so interesting because it's like, I very much, like, have built now with through this awareness, like, boundaries, like, having very clear boundaries of, like, "Okay, I can sense that this space, like, these people are not serving me," just because I can already tell just in being in their presence, it's changing how I feel about myself, and it's like now that I have that awareness, I can say, well, I don't need to put myself in this environment. I don't need
True.
to be surrounded by these people. I don't need to have a conversation with you if I know it's going to cause me internal stress. Like, and it's interesting having that power because, like, I used to think, like, as a kid, like, and I don't know if it's because, as girls we're raised to kind of be like accommodating to
Mm-hmm.
people and to like support people, that like usually when someone asks you to do something, you feel like you have to do it and realizing it's like, "No, I don't have to. I don't have to,
Yep.
and I'm choosing not to
Yep.
for myself." You know
Yep.
what I mean? And, like, that has been such an interesting, journey really to, like, allow myself to have the space to say no,
Yeah.
and it to be okay. Because
To
like,
be okay
sometimes,
with
like
saying
yeah,
no.
like, when you say no to someone, like, you feel bad, because like, you're telling them
Oh my
no,
God.
but,
Don't even get
like
me started.
I'm
Like,
like, "No, like, I need to say no, like, it's not wrong for me to say no to you."
learning to say no is like training a new muscle. Because I don't know what it is in our childhood that, like, especially as women, that, like, we felt so compelled to say yes to everything and everybody. And maybe it could be our nurturing energy, our caring energy, our, like, natural motherly instincts. All these things combined, and, like, if you're a kind person, that adds on to it as well. But I don't know, man, like, it's really like retraining a new muscle because I've had such a hard time personally growing up, especially like in my college, like my early adulthood. It's been so difficult learning to say no, but like I had to because there has been so many like situations happening, so many lessons, so many cycles where I got to the point where I was like, oh no, like I can't keep doing this. I can't keep allowing this to happen. I can't keep saying yes and I have no energy to give. Like I can't pour from an empty cup. And I feel like growing up I was always the person to pour from an empty cup, and because I'm always like, yes, yes, I'll help, I'll help, I'll help. Yes, I'll give, I'll go, I'll do. Now it's like, oh, nah, like I need to chill. No, thank you. People would ask me and I can actually say no. And sometimes, honestly, it's still hard. And I feel really bad saying it half the time. But there's such a relief that comes with saying no and such a power, as you said. It's really like reclaiming back power that you didn't realize you gave away by saying yes because you thought
Exactly,
saying
right?
yeah because you thought saying yes was the best choice when in
Like, you were
actuality
doing the right thing, like, you were being,
yeah
a good person, and it's like you said, like, pouring from an empty cup, I think is, like, such a beautiful way to put it because, like, it's like you give, 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 give,
mhm
and then, like, you're not getting anything back,
mm
and then your ego will get up angry and be like, "Oh, well, why am I not getting stuff back, or why aren't people giving to me?" And it's like, why do you feel like you need to give to them? Maybe
exactly
we should start giving to ourselves and then
exactly
them figure stuff out for themselves and, like, let people struggle for themselves. Like, you don't need to save everybody, you don't need to fix anybody.
Nope.
The only person you gotta work on, sis, is you,
Oh
and
my
you got a
God.
lot to work on.
Stop
So
yelling
it's
at
like,
me. Oh my
we focus.
goodness. That's definitely been something I've been working on. So I'm really grateful that you brought that up.
I love watching your content because one for me, like you're just a very genuine person and like to me, like I just see like your inner child like blossoming and like as you go out in the world and you're like, "Oh my god, look at this cute flower," or look how this looks through this window and I'm like, "Oh my god, sis, that does look cool." Like, "Oh my god." And it's so interesting because it's like I remember when I was that like just carefree, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's interesting, like, when we grow up, we, like, set this, like, "Oh, we have to be big now. We have to be an adult
Yeah.
now." Like, we have to put on our big boy pants, and we have to behave, and we can't just,
Yeah.
like, be silly, and we can't just do weird things because, like, society says you have to behave this way. And it's, like, for me, so constricting as a human being, like,
Mhm.
being told that, like, you can't just lay down on the floor without someone thinking that you're crazy. You
Trust
can't just, like,
me.
look at a leaf and be so, like, fascinated by the little ant that's, like, crawling on
Mhm.
it and, like, taking its time to, like, bring food back to its nest, like, that's weirdo. Weirdos do stuff like that. Like,
Mhm.
you can't appreciate the bees for literally, like, giving us food because they pollinate all the plants that we need to eat to help us grow, and to me, it's, like, so weird that, like, we've become, like, this cookie cutter, like, all the time that, like, from
Stuck
school
up,
where you're told to
man.
sit down and be quiet and behave and just do what you're supposed to,
Very
don't be too loud,
robotic.
don't be it's, like, so constricting, I feel like, it, like, reduces our humanness. It's
Oh,
like we're saying we can't be
absolutely.
human, like, we can't be emotional, we can't be, like,
Absolutely.
uncomfortable or, like and it's, like, for me it's so weird to see other people try to, like, scold people into behaving a certain way because they have been
Oh,
scolded to
yeah.
behave a certain way,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like, I look at them and I'm like, "What? Like, how did we get this
Oh,
far
yeah.
off the track?" It, like, blows my mind. It's just interesting, like, I as a human being, like, it's been as I go into, like, my 20s, it's like relearning all the things that I told myself I couldn't do
Mhm.
anymore
Mhm.
because,
Mhm.
like, people told me I shouldn't or, like, people told me, like, "You have to be this way to be successful,"
Mhm.
and it's interesting, like, when I work with people that are millionaires, people that have reached financial goals, they chillin', they live in life, and it's, like, seeing how they work and, like, how unhappy people are, you know, like, it's like we have people that are so intelligent, so
Yeah.
brilliant, and yet so disconnected from the truth of, like, why we're here, and it's been such, like, a I would say, like, a reality fuck up for me because, like, everything that I thought, like, I needed, everything that I thought needed to happen, everything that I thought, like, made like, how the world made sense
Yeah.
and, like,
Yeah.
is, like, so far from the actual truth that, like,
Trust
I have
me.
no clue what to do. Like, I'm just, like, in this weird limbo state of, like, trying to figure out, like, now that I'm realizing that what I thought I wanted for myself is not going to be the thing that brings me
Joy.
joy and contentment in life, like, I'm like, "Holy crap, what do I do now?" Like, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, cause it's like, literally living in America has shown me, like, how special St. Martin is and, like,
Trust me.
how
Yeah.
beautiful that island
Mhm.
is and the people that are there, and, like, there's something about, like, just the way that St. Martiners are with each other and, like, the openness and the love that just exists there.
Mhm.
The peace,
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
calmness, the
I miss it.
slowness,
The slowness. That's the
so
key word.
much.
That's the key word, the slowness. And you
'Cause
know
it's like
what's
the city
crazy?
is fast. It's too
It's so
fast. It's
fast.
too fast.
You end up I don't know if you're a pedestrian, but I'm a pedestrian. So like I noticed that like I walk so fast and then when I go home for vacation, I walk way too fast. I have to slow myself down and I feel that that adds on to the anxiety because your soul is like moving so fast, your brain is moving so fast and your body's lagging. You know, it's on a delay, like it has to catch up. So I feel like that's where like meditation and like doing things to like ground yourself come in. But you know what's crazy? I wanted to go back to what you said about growing up and inner child and you being in this limbo. You know what's crazy? I went to school and I like studied, I have my degree, and I chose to not pursue that because I was like, I'm just gonna pursue music. I'm gonna pursue being an artist. I'm gonna just do art because my inner child really needs it. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this is gonna make me happy. Same way you said this is gonna make you happy. But I also reached the point where I'm like in a limbo of like, well, not a limbo, but like a crossroads, more like better words for it, where I'm like, should I just like let go of this music dream and just like turn around and go do like a stable air quote job? But then every time I stop and I have that thought, I'm like, I would rather risk it for the biscuit. I would rather continue to pursue being an artist and continue being an artist, but more find like financial stability in that pursuit than like turn around and go to somewhere that I may feel like is stable and then be unhappy.
I mean, it that's is the thing about capitalism that really irks me,
Trust.
is the fact that we're forced to choose. And most people will choose financial
Yeah.
security over following the thing that they know inside their soul is like speaking to them, because we live in this capitalist society that forces us to choose.
Mhm.
And that is literally the thing that irks me so much, because I see it even in myself of like, I have this job, it is for an incredible company, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, but it's still a job. There are still things that I have to do that I don't like doing, and I have to do it because if I don't do it, my paycheck won't come, and I need that money so that I can establish a sense of freedom, so that I feel safe enough to go out and do the things that really spark
Yeah.
joy, you know? And for me, it's like this weird thing of like, why do we have to choose? And like, why is this system built in a way where we're forced to choose to do something that goes against what we
Mhm.
feel in our
Well, that's
intuition?
what they want
And
to do, right? Because at the end of the
I
day, they
know, but
just want to hold us down.
it blows my mind that, like, so many people are okay with it. Like, it's like we all are consenting to this way of life, and, like, I don't understand, like, why we consent to it, and it's, like, such a weird thing because it's like you said, like, we have all this technology, it's supposed to be making our lives better,
Mhm.
but instead, it's, like, making us more anxious, it's making us more disconnected. Like, social media is creating, like, this delusion that people find themselves in, and it's, like, crazy. It's like they further delude themselves, and then they buy into the illusion so much
Yeah.
that it's like, from a just, like, a mental health perspective, I'm like, "Oh my god, like, where are we headed?" Because the metaverse to me is only, like, a further extrapolation of that, and it's like
Of
you
social
see it
media. Yep.
already
Yep.
where, like, people would rather go on Instagram with a filter than their real face, and it's, like,
Yep.
to the point where people are so out of touch with reality that they would rather live in a digital world where their digital self doesn't look anything like their real self because they don't even like their real self, and they would rather have all this digital crap to make them feel better about themselves. And the thing is like, you see it, at least, well, I feel like with girls especially, like they'll go, for example, get BBLs.
I was just going to say that the filters and like the Photoshop and all these things are so unrealistic, but people just, as you said, buy into it and actually believe that that's natural, which it could be. And then they
But that's
go
the
and
thing, they
they,
make it natural. They'll go to the plastic surgeon,
yes,
get the work done, then they'll get this outpour of love from people, like complete strangers being like, "Oh my god, you look so good, like, good for you, sis." And then
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
build
yeah,
confidence around this false, like, sense of self, you know what I mean? Because they've
yep,
changed who they are
yep.
because they weren't happy with who they actually are. And for me, it's like, That's psychopathic. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it just to me is like a red flag. Like, it's like you changed yourself and now you're getting praise for this like mutilated version of yourself, but you don't look at it as a mutilation because your ego convinced you that this is a better version of you. And so
Yep,
because you get like
yep,
people
yep.
satisfying that validation, like they're validating you, you're getting praise from maybe the opposite sex or whatever you're attracted to that makes your
Mhm,
confidence feel like you are more worthy now than you were
mhm.
before. But I'm like, at the end of the day, like, we all know that that's not true. Like, we know that
Nope,
you had to change, like, you had to
you
change
chose
who
that.
you
You
were.
chose that.
And I'm like, at the end of the day, how do you like, how does that, I'm like, I feel like, at least in my brain, I would
Yeah.
always know the truth. Like, I would always have that thought, like, sis, but your butt's not really that big. You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
you had to
And
do
you know
something for
what?
that.
And you
But
know
I don't
what?
know.
I'm not even I'm not even against plastic surgery. Like people can do what they want, you know. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
have
your
a bunch
life,
of
it's your
tattoos and
body.
stuff. But what I can never agree on is when people do it because they are not secure within themselves. It's like when you don't know who you are, when you're not confident in who you are, if you do know who you are, you know, and you don't take the time to nurture yourself from inside out, you you tend to look from outside in and you feel like if you fix your outside, you'll be okay with your inside. But at the end of the day, it's it doesn't work that way because you might do that. You might fix your outside, notice that your inside is still trash, and then maybe then you actually start working on your inside and notice that your outside does not reflect that. Because why you change your natural self, you know?
I feel like it's like a tree saying, "Oh, my branches don't look good. I need new branches." You know what I mean? Like, it's like you don't see that. Like, you don't see an ant say, "Oh, my antenna look crooked. I need to
Let
go
me go get a
replace it
new
and get a
antenna.
new one." You
But you
know?
see,
Like,
that's the thing about us humans. We've just like we've gone so far beyond knowledge and science and all this thing that like we just want to do
but it's
everything
like,
now
do we
to the point
even
where
know
we mutilate
anything?
ourselves.
It's like we
We
claim we
don't
know so
we
much.
don't, but like
We don't know nothing. We literally, like, we
we
know
know.
the bare minimum. We don't even know enough. That's why we're so, like, depressed and, like, sad. Like, we have all this science and technology that could literally build us anything that we wanted. We have so much crap. We have too much crap, honestly, and yet people are depressed, and, like, the majority of people
I
need
have
to be on some sort of pill.
I have a
It's crazy.
conspiracy theory.
Go ahead. Let's hear
I
it.
have a conspiracy theory. What if like doctors and surgeons and all these people were paid by the elites to learn all this plastic surgery BS, all this internal surgery stuff, right?
Mm.
To be able to like dismantle the human being and rebuild us as cyborgs.
I mean, I see us heading in that direction. People are already changing genders. Like, it will be like literally people are changing every facet of what it means to be a human being. And like, it seems like that's
Oh
where we're
yeah.
headed. Like, you don't like your
That's
arm?
why that's
Trade it out.
let's change it. You know, let's cut it off. Let's put something new on it.
Exactly. Oh, your eyes aren't working? Let's get you some, eyes that
Whatever
can see
happened
through walls.
Yes. Whatever happened to holistic healing? Whatever happened to like eating healthy? Whatever happened to
I don't
exercise,
know.
natural remedies? Like I know us Caribbean people, all we need is bush tea and we're good to go.
I'm telling you. I'm
So
telling you.
why is it that up here we can't get bush tea and be good to go?
I honestly think like, I feel so bad for people that grow up in these developed countries sometimes because, like,
Air quote
honestly, like, I feel like
developed?
they haven't had an opportunity to see life any other way. And so as a
Yes.
result of that, like they think the world has to be this way. And so like for
Mm-hmm.
example, like we growing up on St. Martin, like we were exposed to growing with nature. We were
Mhm.
exposed to the power of nature. We were
Mhm.
exposed to the slowness of time and the peace and serenity that that brings you because we've had that experience. If you grew up in like New York City your whole life, you grew up in LA your whole life, like I can only imagine how your perception of reality and society is completely skewed to
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Um and like even when I went to Hawaii for like my birthday, like it was such like taking a load off, like
I
just
can only
being on a
imagine.
road that was a one-lane road, you could only go in one direction. It only could give you bring you to a certain, you know, amount of spaces. It was very much like wild and overgrown bush and jungle. And to
Yes,
me, like, there is
yes.
something so beautiful in that, like, in the chaos of the natural world. It is, like, the most stunning art piece that humans could never make themselves, but
Mhm.
yet we are so dissatisfied with the world that we feel like the land is purposeless, that we are somehow the gods of this earth, and it's, like, so funny to me because, like, the most important things for life, we cannot make. Like, this is,
Mm.
like, the most hilarious thing that has, like, literally blown my mind recently is, like, the rain, the sun, the ability to grow plants. These were all gifts from the universe. Humans cannot do it. We, if anything, are vehicles of it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
I can't just make a banana with science. You know what I mean? Like I have to grow a banana from
With
the natural world. I can't
yep.
make rain with science. You know what I mean? Rain comes in the natural world. Like without the sun, we ain't here. So it's like this weird thing that like we have deluded ourselves into feeling like we control this planet, that we are the ones that have completely reshaped the earth in our image, and yet we are still dependent on the very thing. Without it, we're nothing. Like literally all the metals we use, everything comes from the earth. We don't
That
make any of it.
we don't
And
make
it's like
any of it. And my
we
my
have
question
completely
is,
lost sight of that.
yeah, because why is it that we have these natural gifts? Why is it that the universe has literally given us everything that we need and we've exploited it so much to the point that now we have to make artificial versions of everything? Why is my banana GMO? Plus pollution. All of these things like mess with our nature. So
It's like the real tree isn't good enough. We had to make a fake tree in the
fake
metaverse
tree.
and that would be good enough. And I'm like, "Oh my god." Just and, like, I mean, and the radiation too, like, I that is definitely one thing I don't think, like, we have enough of a understanding about how that stuff affects our psyche and just, like, our sense of wellness, that I think you do realize it when you're in a space that's so far away from civilization and, like, you don't have cell reception. The space feels different, like, it is such a weird, experience to have, like, the space itself feels different, and but science can't explain it, you know? It really we science don't know. Science do not know. But yet, like, all these people are so in their ego that they feel like that way is the right way and the only way, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh my gosh, bro.
yeah.
You don't know
I I think it's just like a human nature thing where we just when we get lost in the ego aspect of everything, we just feel like we know it all. We've learned it all. We can figure it all out. You
That's
know,
what I have been trying to do. Like literally, I became an engineer because I wanted to learn it all, like 100%. I was trying to understand the atom up to the sky, you know? But it's like even when I did all of that, I still don't know. I'm still even more confused and more lost today than I was then. And I have all this knowledge in my head and it doesn't help one bit.
listen, knowledge and wisdom is two different things, girlfriend.
Preach.
You feel me?
Preach.
And like I was the same way. I wanted to learn it all about human nature. Like I studied behavioral sciences. You know, like I was one of those psychology girls. I did human and social biology in high school, social studies, everything with the social and the humans, because I wanted to understand human beings so badly and like the the psyche, sorry. And you know what I learned after doing all these things? I even studied yoga. Like I even studied yoga to learn about the body and like how to tap in and like how to like connect that with the mind and meditation and everything. And you know what? I realized that I studied all of that just to learn about myself and to learn how to navigate through life because
Literally.
that
Literally.
is it. That is it. Because yeah, now yeah, I can go and be a behavioral therapist if I wanted to. I could be a counselor. I could get my master's or whatever, but like I don't have a passion for that. I had a passion for learning about myself. And now that I've learned as much as I've learned, I still don't know anything about myself. I still don't know anything about human beings because it's all infinite. Like there's so many layers to all of it. And
Oh my gosh.
every time you
Preach.
feel like you reach the final boss and
Do something
you
else.
air quote defeat the final boss, it's like a whole new cycle started.
An illusion. It was like, oh, the boss was an illusion, and this whole
Oh
thing that you
yeah.
thought you just did was the ego, just so you know. So, right, we back to square, we're back to square one.
And the cycle
Joke's
begins
on you.
again. Yeah, like literally. Literally. So it's just like
And you
human
just be
beings.
sitting there with your ego all butthurt, like, "Oh my god, I'm
Yo,
back to square one." Like,
you know
"What
what
did
I
I learn?"
right? You know what I realized last night about ego death
Tell me.
is that ego death, as much as people say it's this one big like death of the ego that just transforms you completely, it's not. The ego death is a
It's a lie.
continuous thing. Your ego is
Yep.
always dying. Every time you accept something about yourself or accept something about your life or somebody humbles you, that's an ego.
I know, and it's like you can't destroy the ego.
You
You can't.
can't. It's
Like
part of
your
you.
it's like the thing that wants to destroy the ego is the ego.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
Like,
know.
and
My ego be slapping me left and right. I'd be like, "Oh my
listen,
god.
me and my
Oh my
ego be
god,
in fights. Me and my ego be arguing
bro."
all the time.
I know.
I don't know.
Scrapping.
I don't know if you ever
Scrapping.
have this feeling of like, are you an overthinker?
100%.
Okay, not I was gonna say okay, great, not great, but okay, same. Same. And I was having a conversation with one of my homegirls, I don't remember, maybe like a week or so ago. And I was telling her, yo, I overthink about everything. I feel like I want to be present in conversations. I want to be present in moments. I want to be enjoying every single moment without thinking about something in my past or thinking about something that I have to do for the future. And it's like,
Or, like, just
or
worrying
just
about the
worrying.
conversation.
Yeah, about how
Yeah.
I'm gonna respond, what I'm gonna say next. Am I gonna like respond to every single thing the person said? Like, and she was like, honestly, yo, I'm an overthinker too, and I've just accepted that, and I've just accepted that the mind of a creator is always all over the place because there's always ideas. There's always ideas in your head. And when she said that, I was like, wow, I don't
It's
feel
like
it.
you need to be an
I
overthinker to
need to
be a
be an
creative,
overthinker
but
to be a
in that
creative.
process, it's like you're overthinking.
Well, you're
It's like the thing that
overthinking.
makes you great is also the thing that brings you suffering.
Yep.
It's, it's literally like, literally what you said was literally a conversation I had with my boyfriend yesterday because, like, I saw this quote that was like, "Happiness is really hard for intelligent people to have
Yeah.
because, like, there's always the analysis of happiness that robs you of actually enjoying the state of happiness." And I was like, that is so interesting because I consider myself like an intellectual, you know? And so it's like, is the thing that makes me a great intellectual also the thing that will rob me of enjoying being an intellectual, because there's always like
Mm,
this grasping for more, this
mm-hmm.
grasping of wanting to understand more, this grasping of like, oh, but what about this? Or
Yeah.
what if we tried that? And it's interesting because it's like that is a part of that creative process of like wanting to try, trying to evolve, growing, learning, adapting, changing. But it's like in that process, sometimes it's like you said, can you be present in that flow? And it's like, like when people say like sometimes when you're in the moment of something, it's hard to really see where you're headed or where you're going, but when you look back, it's like the dots all align. It's like, but it's like at the same
Mm,
time, it's like, can I understand how the dots are aligning while I'm in
the
one of
moment.
those stages? And
Yes.
it's like a weird thing of like, can I do that? Can I actually enjoy where I am right now without being like knowing where I am headed, but still being present in this phase and being able to enjoy this phase while I'm in this phase? Because once I'm here, I'm here. And once I'm not here, I won't be here anymore.
You know
And
what that's called, girl? It's
uh,
called walking in faith. It's
yes,
called just having faith and just letting go and just
the ego don't like
enjoying.
that
The
though.
ego does not like that because the ego loves control. The ego is low-key a
Oh my
narcissist.
gosh.
You feel me? The
Oh my
ego is
gosh,
low-key a
it's so
narcissist.
bad.
That's why I notice like people who truly fully live in their ego are very much they have narcissistic tendencies,
I feel
or
it.
maybe they are, no judgment there. But like the ego can be a narcissist, and that's why the ego can be so mean and so controlling. And I noticed that about my ego. My ego wants control of like
Everything,
everything. My ego is just like, I want to
everything.
control where I'm going to be today at this time. I want to control what's going to happen here. I want to control how I'm going to feel, how I'm going to sound, what I'm going to do. But realistically speaking, the ego is not even realistic. like
It's not.
like it's not even
She's just a
realistic.
crazy bitch, is what the ego is. She a crazy bitch,
Yeah.
and she don't know what she
She
want,
don't know
but
what
she
she
never gonna be
want. She
happy.
just doing too much. She wants too much and she needs to be humbled. And the ego needs to just learn faith. And like that's why you just have to trust yourself, your soul, yourself to just
So my ego, like every time I hear someone say "just have faith," my ego's like,
girl, trust me, sane.
mm,
Trust
It's like,
me.
why though? But it's like, but we can't. But it's like, but what if? And I'm like, but relax. It's like, but
It's the
I
but.
don't want to
It's
relax.
the
I
but.
want to know. And
It's you see, wanting to know. Wanting to
yep,
know is
that's my
really like the
struggle.
killer of joy because like you will
I
never
know
know, and like
it
even when you
is.
think you know, you'll
You
probably receive
don't
an outcome that you didn't even anticipate, and you're like, ah shit, I didn't even know,
exactly.
and now you're pissed because you just couldn't
I
accept the
know
flow.
exactly. Exactly. It's like our expectations always lead to disappointment.
Oh
Every time we set
yes.
an expectation, always leads to disappointment,
Oh
just
yeah.
because it's like never going to be 100% the way that you want it. Even when it's like dating people, like sometimes like I'll see myself, like my ego, like go through phases with my partner where it'll be like, why are we even with him? Like, why are you even like you could just be single and be alone and be by yourself. And then I'll be like, but none of that is even grounded in truth because it's just annoyed that he did something that it didn't like. You know what I mean? And it's like not even something that he did wrong. It's just like it
It
didn't
just
do it the way that my ego
wanted it.
wanted. And so
Yeah.
it's upset. And so now that it's upset, it wants to just like disown the thing that's like causing it frustration. And it's funny because it's like real love is like the absence of requirement for your partner. It's like having that blind faith of like, I'm with you, I'm committed to you. I am committed to the ups and downs of how I feel about you
Yeah.
while I'm with you.
Yeah.
And just being okay with that and knowing that like I trust that this is a safe space and that I genuinely feel like I can just be myself here and that you too are going to relinquish your requirements of me so that I can just be me and you can just be you and we can vibe together
Yes,
forever, you know?
yes. See, and you know what's crazy about that? Relationships like that only happen if people can put their ego aside and work together to build.
But it's
It's
hard.
so
Don't get me
it's
wrong,
so
it's hard.
challenging. Like I definitely can agree with that. Like everyone that knows me knows my relationship history. Like I like when I started to date, and this is like me being vulnerable. When I started to date, I remember my relationships. I had very few relationships that lasted like over 2 months because one, I'm a Sag, I get bored really fast, and I'm a Gemini moon, so I get even more bored really fast. And I'm an
I
Aquarius
like this ain't
rising,
interesting no
so I'm
more.
always looking for something new. You feel me? So it's just like if this person, you know, gets it isn't working with me to like build something or isn't interesting enough, like I get bored and I'm like, you know what? I don't hate you, but let's just be friends. You know, like let's just be friends. Because no. When I actually started to like date and be in a relationship that was more serious and like longer than 2 months, that's when I actually started to experience, oh, wow, yeah, you actually have to put in work. You actually have to put in work in this. And it's hard to keep choosing because love really is like choosing that person every day through their evolution, through
Every
their
day.
growth, through their mistakes, through their like fuck boy or fuck girl moments. You know what I'm saying? Like it's choosing them every day. And what I noticed about this generation nowadays is like no one wants to choose. Everyone just wants like a quick,
A
perfect
perfect
relationship
relationship for the
for the
gram.
gram. That's what I was gonna say because they see it on Instagram and they want to be like, oh,
But Instagram is a
Instagram is a
lie.
lie.
Oh
And
my
I'm not
god.
saying you can't take cute pics with your boo and post it. You know what I'm saying? But be realistic.
Yeah, they not happy 24/7. I know she annoyed the shit out of him, and he annoyed the shit out of
I
her,
I
so it's like, I
know.
wanna see
I know
that.
they be yelling at each other. Come on now. Come on now. But they choose each other every day. And like sometimes it's just for the gram, but in real life, it's for love, you know, it's for growth, it's for having that partner. And like it's way more difficult nowadays to find that. So I admire couples that found each other and choose each other every day because it's hard out here in the streets.
Oh, I know. I sometimes literally like earlier today, I was just like thinking about it because like I said, I was like I've been feeling more like myself now that I'm feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like when like sometimes I sit and I like reminisce on like the good things, like all the good moments that I feel with
Mm-hmm.
him. And like I'll just like be like, oh my God, like I am so lucky, like, to have found somebody that,
Yes.
like, I genuinely know that no matter what obstacles we face, I will be able to make it through with him together, and, like, we can laugh it out even if we argue and we disagree and we're like, "No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong." Like, I know at the end of the day, like, it is always gonna come back to this point where, like, we both love each other so much that even an argument can only last so long because, like, even if we're upset with each other, like, we'll just take, like, that awkward silence of, like, 5 minutes, then we'll look at each other, and, like, the love is just so much that I'm compelled, like, I can't be mad, you
Yeah.
know, like, I can't. I
That's
can't. I can't be
beautiful.
mad anymore.
That's
Like,
beautiful.
he's too cute, I
She's like,
can't,
he's
you
too
know?
cute. I can't be mad at that face. Look at that face.
Like, I'm trying to keep my face, you know, like, when, like, you're, like, trying to be upset, but, like, you wanna
Yeah.
laugh so
Yeah.
hard, like, it's like that, like, I can't
But
even I can't because it's like
that's that childlike love though. That's that
exactly,
beautiful
right? Where it's like
childlike love. Like if you're with someone that like allows you to be your child self, like that's beautiful because you're always gonna laugh everything off.
exactly, exactly. But it's interesting that you mentioned like this like seeking of newness because like I also have noticed this too where it's like humans get bored
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
quickly and it's such a weird thing that like we have reached a point in, like, our civilization where everything needs to be instant,
Yes.
like, we need Netflix now, like, there's no ads, like, I want my product, it's gonna be delivered to me
Yep.
today, everything that I want, I
Everything
get
is
it
so
now.
fast,
That,
so
like, not
fast.
getting it triggers the ego, like, not having it triggers the ego, and, like, we're so addicted to new that, like, we can't appreciate what
Have,
we
yep,
have because it's like, "Oh, it's boring, I have it
yep.
already," like, I need something else to bring me joy, to stimulate this, like,
Yeah, and
excitement.
and and I think it's all this living in the fastness again, like, adds to not being able to live in the present, and that's why we can't enjoy the things we already have because we're always trying to, like, live in the things we haven't even acquired yet, and it's like getting a new pair of shoes, and you love them when you bought them in that moment, you were like, "I love these shoes," but you bought them so fast that you just put them on once, you put them in a closet, you're like, "Oh, I need new shoes." But you just bought these shoes last week. And again, like
But you already took a photo of them for the gram, so they
yeah,
old
and that's
now.
another thing. That's
People have
another
seen them.
thing. Like, you really expect me to, like, buy these pair of shoes, wear them once on Instagram, and never post it again? Bro, these are clothes. They're reusable. They're reusable. Like, I could put my clothes in the washing machine and wear it again, honey. Like, my feet are still the same size.
But I feel like our society is so shallow that like there will be maybe not you, but there's one person in the gram that's definitely gonna be like, "Oh my god, like didn't she wear
Oh
those
my god,
already?
yeah.
Like I thought we already saw those. Like, oh my god, is she broke? She's wearing the same
That's and you
clothes
know that's
again."
crazy
Like,
to me. What
ugh.
if I have the same shirt 6 times? What if I have 6 of the same shirt? And again, living in this fast, more capitalistic society, like no one's a minimalist anymore. No one can appreciate less. And no one actually understands the quote, less is more, because everyone just
It
wants
really
more,
is.
more. It's like more is more. I want more. I need more. And don't get me wrong, I'd be like that too. Just earlier today, I was like, oh my God, I need to start making more money. Oh my God, I need to like start doing more of this. I need to start eating more vegetables. I need to more. I need a bigger house. Like, I need a bigger apartment. I need more clothes. But it's like, no, I don't. Like, it's just my ego wanting to like fill some kind of void that I'm
Void,
avoiding. I'm
right?
avoiding something. So there's a void there. And then my ego just wants to fill it with all these like quick fixes.
Just
Yeah,
crap.
quick
Just crap, really.
fixes
Just crap.
that like it's not even gonna fix anything.
More clutter
More clutter.
to distract you from the
Yep.
truth. And it's so interesting because it's like I in my meditation class, the guy that like leads our meditation, he had this like sentence that he said that like, oh my god, like he just be spitting, like he be just dropping little gems and he just be talking and I'm like, you're like blowing my mind. But he was like, everything that we have is transferable. Everything. We are born in this
Yep.
world with nothing. We leave this world
Yep.
with nothing. Everything that we have was either made by somebody else that we now, we purchased it and we now have it. And when we're done with it, we will give it to
Yeah.
somebody else, whether it be like through your donation to Goodwill or wherever. And that will go and serve someone else. And it's like this interesting idea that we technically own nothing, but our ego makes everything mine, 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 mine. And it's this weird delusion that we have like entrapped ourselves in where we think that our stuff belongs to
Mm-hmm.
us, which, like, I mean, we pay for it. So, like, yeah, it's my possession, but it's
No.
really not mine. It's just an object that I have that was given to me through this transferable economy that we,
Yep.
create. And my attachment to it, my,
That's
like,
the key word.
obsession, my claim,
Attachment.
my, like yeah, it's all
Yep.
ego, and what it really is doing is robbing me from really having a true appreciation for the technology, for the piece of clothes, for the stuff that I have, because it's like this like delusion of like what
Yep.
is mine versus what is
Yep.
everybody else's. And it's like interesting that I've been like toying with this idea of like collective assets and like are we moving to a world where like everybody needs to have their own stuff, or like could we be in a world where people didn't need to have their own stuff because technically we have so much stuff that we don't even use every
Yep.
day, like we have a drill that we only use when we
Yep.
need a drill, you know what I mean? And it's like how many drills did we need to make in this world versus how many drills really needed to be made to do
Yeah.
the job of a
Yeah.
drill,
Yeah.
for in every instance that a drill actually needed to be
You know how
used. And it's
much
like
it's
this weird thing of like
capitalism.
people feeling that they need to
Yeah.
have their own versus like what if we were in a world where there were collective assets that could just be shared when you needed them, like it was available when you needed it and you could give it back when you didn't need it, and we wouldn't have to hold on to so much stuff anymore because we were fine sharing everything. But it's like this weird ego thing of like mine, that like it's
I feel
interesting.
like
It
if we were
intrigues
in a
me.
world where like we actually only had collective assets, which I think is such an interesting like thing to toy with because we would be messing with less of the natural resources that we have. First of all, there would be less pollution. There would be there would just be less clutter on the earth, but that requires unity and and
Exactly.
people
Exactly.
yeah, people are
Exactly.
so
Like
selfish.
literally like that's what I think of like cuz I remember I heard this like thing where like Elon was pretty much making all of the Teslas like copies of each other to kind of erase this idea of like individuality in like assets like that because they wanted to move to a world where like it didn't matter what Tesla you had because all of them are the same. You know what I mean? Like there's no uniqueness to it. And that way, like you shouldn't care if you get this Tesla or that Tesla because they're the exact same, and it's like this idea of like collective assets where you get a car
Mhm.
when you need it and then you return it when you don't. And so as a result, like you don't have tons of cars that are parked
Yep.
that aren't doing
Burning a ton
anything,
of
that
gas.
are just aging, that are, yeah, just like just sitting there, just like being assets that aren't being used because you need to have your own. You have this obsession with
Mhm.
mine. Um that as a result, all of our obsessions with having our own stuff like actually forces us to have to create more
Yep.
stuff than we need. And I don't know, it's just I'm like, will we get there or will we die before then? Because I'm like in limbo. In limbo.